here with Dr. Michael Huffman as usual, and should be live now on YouTube, X, Facebook, and hopefully Rumble. I think I set that one up correctly too. And today we're going to talk about, well, we're going to lead with the more redistricting and what the Supreme Court said. And before we get into that, a couple of things that were posted in the comments. One, both of us are super busy. I don't really look at a lot of comments.
I don't either.
I don't live in Texas. I don't have a vote in Texas.
That's right.
I also don't have a vote in New York. I also don't have a vote in Florida. I have a vote in Virginia.
That's all we're worried about is this Commonwealth of Virginia.
Yeah, I don't even know I don't know the laws. So the people that commented, fair arguments. But to be fair, in the first episode, we did bring up Texas.
Yeah.
But I don't know the laws of those states, and I don't have a vote there. I have a vote in Virginia. I can't really help any other state.
I know the Supreme Court just approved their redistricting lines.
Yeah, they did, and Florida's going to do it too.
Yeah. So I mean, the funny thing is, I think we talked about this last time. The funny thing is that even if this gerrymandering in Virginia just happens to go through, I still don't know that it's going to get the Democrats the majority back in Washington.
No, they already posted the Florida what DeSantis proposed, and I like DeSantis. He says he's going to do something, and he does it.
Yeah.
So actually, the Democrats would lose seats if Florida. So the whole thing was for naught.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. We're kind of Virginia centric, although later in the show we're going to comment on some larger level things, and sometimes we go into some national things once in a while. But we're Virginia centric because of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Also, we've been very upfront that nobody should be gerrymandering. Everyone should get a vote.
Yep.
So again, we know the laws in Virginia. We live here. We have votes here. So that's why we talk about that and not the other ones. That's all it is. It's nothing any bigger than that. So I post a couple clips of the show every week. It's like a minute clip out of an hour and a half that we talk. So just be careful. Listen to the whole thing is what I'm trying to say. So let's get to the Supreme Court. They met on Monday to present briefs were due last week, and then they presented their arguments on Monday, and then Tuesday or Wednesday they came out with the initial ruling, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they ruled on yesterday. What happened is that, and of course, you can find this on probably both of our social media accounts, Facebook and everything from VAIB Sutherland. But what they did is they came out. Jay Jones, the Attorney General, had asked, and the appellate counsel had asked for the Supreme Court to allow the gerrymandering, the certification of it to go through, while the courts decided how they were going to rule. And in a one-sentence dissent, all 7 justices said, "We deny your request."
It's all the issues we laid out beforehand, and what it came down to for them was the timing of the when they ran the special session in the fall time. And what is election day?
Yes.
Is election day when it begins at the beginning of early voting, or is it just the only day?
Right. Yeah, they pounded on that pretty hard. There were only 2 judges that actually really engaged during the process, and they really hammered pretty hard on the difference between election day and the election process. And they brought up the fact that the Fourth Circuit Court had ruled that when you have early voting, that is part of the election process, which is part of the election. And I think that was very key of the justices bringing that up and the Fourth Circuit Court ruling that way. So basically what the left is trying to do is now they're trying to downplay the 45 days of voting because they're getting their hand caught in the cookie jar and they're not getting their way because of 45-day voting. And I think that that would be so funny and ironic, Will, that the very party that demanded 45 days of voting is just going to come back and bite them, because it's actually going to very well may hinder this whole situation, because the justices very well may come back and say, "Sorry, fellas, we were already in the election because they had already been voting 38 days. You would need to have waited until 2027 to bring this up because that would have been the next election of the House of Delegates."
So there has to be intervening sessions to approve it. They called a special session in the fall time in order to push this through, but early voting for the elections had already started,
Correct. Yeah.
and that's the problem.
Yeah, and the special session was voted back in on May 13th, 2024. The House unanimously approved a special session. So you've got two situations, two ways that constitutionally a special session can be called. Number one, the governor can call it, and that's the only authority you need, or the General Assembly can call it, but you
Mhm.
need 2/3
Yeah.
of the House in order to have it. So they on in May of 2024 they called for a special session, and they didn't get unanimous. They didn't get 2/3 agreement. They got unanimous agreement, 99-0. Now there's 100 seats, so evidently Barry Knight, who just passed away of cancer this past session, he must have been out sick then as well. But it passed 99-0, and it's House Joint Resolution 6001. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read just two or three sentences of what
Yeah.
that, because this is what they passed. It was agreed to by the House of Delegates and by the Senate on May 13th of 2024. And what this does is it lays out what the special session will include. And then it says this, let's see, no bill. I'm reading right from the resolution. I'm right from the bill rather. No bill, no joint resolution or resolution shall be offered or considered in either house, that's the House or the Senate, during the special session other than budget bills, revenue bills, single house commending or memorial resolutions, bills, joint resolutions, or resolution affecting the rules of procedure or schedule of business of the General Assembly, either of its houses or any of its committees, the election of judges and other officials subject to the election of the General Assembly, unless you have unanimous consent of the chamber. So when they brought us back in October of 2025, the very first thing they did was violate the bill that they passed in 2024, laying out what the special session was going to entail, because they all agreed 99-0, including Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Don Scott, that this would only cover budget bills, memorial resolutions, but you could not cover joint resolutions or any resolution unless it's a revenue bill, unless you get unanimous consent from the chamber. When they brought the resolution to the body to be added to this, they did not get unanimous consent. They got 49-51. That's not unanimous, and that's not definitely not 2/3. And so their own bill required unanimous consent to add anything to the special session. And so from the very beginning, before they ever even took up business, they violated their own joint resolution. Now, unfortunately, this has no legal bearing on the decisions that the court will make. They said that in chambers on Monday, but it goes back
Yeah.
to the the heart, if you will, of the Democrats, that they don't mind violating their own bill to get their agenda put forward.
Yeah, and what this is so what the Supreme Court ruled so far is they're just upholding the Tazewell courts,
Correct.
um, from the vote being certified.
Right. Yeah.
That's where we stand right now. But it doesn't seem it seems promising, I should say, that the court will hold to the Constitution, at least based on the questions and based on this initial ruling.
Yeah.
Um, I find it very interesting that they hired an outside law firm,
Mm.
the state did. So the taxpayers paid for that from California.
California.
So I have no idea what that cost. Uh,
Probably make you mad if you did.
yeah, it's probably outrageous. Um, and their defense was it didn't count because it wasn't election day. But
Yeah.
I know tons of people who vote early. I can't. I vote early. Now, I usually wait till the end of the early voting window, but I like to go early. I for the record, I would give that up.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I've never voted early simply because of time. In fact, election day, I was down in I had been down in Chesapeake on the radio that I do every Tuesday, and I think my wife and I walked into our polling place at 20 minutes to 7. So it's just a matter of timing. I don't have a moral objection to early voting. It's just a matter of timing for me. Um, I would rather our Commonwealth not have early voting. Therefore, we would be no questions. The founding fathers didn't think early voting was
no,
necessary. Any document that you read of the founding fathers, they talk about election day, not election month, not election period, election day. And so I'm like you. I don't have an objection to it, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings if it went away.
no. And as voters, you can't change your vote.
Right.
And it is counted. They're wrong about that because I do vote early and you have to feed it into the little machine and it tells you
Yeah.
that your vote has been counted. Um, so I don't know the exact quote, so I don't want to like take them out of context or anything like that. But I did read that they said that the votes weren't counted until election day, but that's not true.
Right. They said that the votes go into cold storage is the word they used.
Cold store.
Is the word that the lawyer from California used. Cold storage until election day. Maybe made me think of a morgue.
That's what we're. I can't.
Your vote went in a morgue, Will.
I have never heard that term before for voting.
Yeah. Cold storage.
Um, if I vote, then something comes out later. Again, I wait till the end of the period, but it's just easier for where I live and how much that I am on the road
Yeah.
and busy. It's easier for me to vote early. But once I vote, I can't change it.
No. No.
It's done.
Right.
So it counted.
In fact, the challenger, which was the guys on the good side, they had actually read an affidavit of a young woman. I can't remember her name because it's hard to hear in the Supreme Court because the lawyers are of course facing the 7 justices.
Yeah.
And it's all on microphone, but they don't have big mouths like we do. And so it's kind of hard to, they would have a problem hearing you and me, but it's kind of hard hearing them. So I didn't catch the name, but I did catch enough to where this woman signed an affidavit that she was in Rodney Willett's district, which is down in the Henrico area, Short Pump in that area. And she said, I voted for him. But she says, if I had known that he was going to do this, I would have voted for his opponent. And ironically enough, Rodney Willett was the patron of the original bill.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, common sense has left the building.
Yeah.
We can make
definitely.
this real simple.
Yep.
Early voting had started, it didn't count. It's not that difficult.
Right.
And now we're spending tons of money, even more money than we already spent on this whole thing. And it's probably going to get overturned, which is a good thing. But then we're going to have to do it all again
Yeah.
in 2 years.
Yeah. Unless we can get a conservative legislature. Yeah, they're not going to give up on it. But the good thing about it is that I think the people of Virginia, more the people of Virginia, um, saw what they're trying to do, even the ones that voted for it. So maybe it would go a different way if they try to do it again. Maybe they would see that because since they barely won, maybe they wouldn't try again. I don't know, but they probably would.
No, I think they try again. It's the whole voting thing, it really shouldn't be that complicated. If the early voting is gonna be to me, they should just and I don't know if this is at a federal level or if the Virginia I mean, the Democrats aren't gonna do it, but somebody steps up and says, "Okay, we're gonna fix this." It's really not that difficult.
Right.
One day,
Right.
that's all it is. You have to have an ID to vote. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
You have to have an ID for all kinds of things. Um, and your vote's hand counted right there.
Mhm.
That's it.
Remember the lever days when you turn down a lever. My first election was when George Allen ran for governor against Mary Sue Terry. We're talking back in 1992.
Yeah.
And were you probably in the service back then, weren't you?
No, I'm not that old.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just kidding.
But anyway, um, that was my first election. I remember turning down the little lever. Nothing was computerized. It punched the card in the back of the of the voting machine. And we also need to fix the. I think we need to fix the absentee ballot voting.
Oh,
rules.
yeah. Yeah.
You don't get it. You don't qualify for an absentee ballot just because you're too trifling to get up off of your couch and drive. I'm sorry, but this may sound harsh to our viewers, but just because you're too trifling to get off your couch and drive 10 minutes to your polling place, if you are physically incapacitated and cannot leave your house, yes. If you're in the service, yes. If you live overseas but are a citizen of America, United States, yes. But just because you're too trifling to get up off your couch, no, you don't get an absentee ballot for that.
No, there's 4 changes right there that somebody could step up and champion, and it makes it fair for everyone.
Right.
There's no cheating.
No.
I don't know about Virginia. Lord knows what's on our voter polls, but you see all this stuff coming out of California,
Yeah.
and Minnesota, and all these heavily left places where like dogs are on voter rolls, and people that have been deceased for a while are still on the
Yeah.
voter rolls. It's an easy fix,
Yeah.
but no one's going to want to do it.
No.
But these things are too important not to push forward. Why are we not securing elections? I don't understand why this is not a bipartisan issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's because the other side is not interested, not to use an old playground word, 'cause I don't think the left is interested in fairness.
No.
They're interested in power, and they're interested in getting it, and they're interested in keeping it at all costs. And so, fairness is not on their agenda.
Which is hilarious because the entire election was called fairness.
Yeah, yeah, amazing.
So that's where we stand on the redistricting. The Supreme Court will. I don't know. I've heard a couple different timelines. Could be a little bit of time. It could be a week, but I guess they move at their own pace.
Yeah, as I was walking out, Delegate Scott Watt was there. Senator Ron McDougal was there. Of course, he was the plaintiff of the challenger on the case, and Senator Sturdivant was there, and Delegate Davis, I'm sorry, was there. And on the way out, I was talking to Delegate Davis, and he says, "Michael, it could take weeks." He says, "We're hoping they're going to decide quickly, but like you said, Will, they grind at their own pace, and so it could take weeks."
Yeah. So we all stand on pins and needles.
Right.
Um,
But the fact that they ruled the way they did the other day gives me some clarity of hope that they are at least somewhat concerned about. They recognize the fact, okay, some shenanigans were going on here.
Yeah.
They at least seem to recognize that, and they're not willing just to roll over and play dead for the left.
Yeah. So here's the question that the one justice asked: what is an election? Is it just election day, or is it everything leading up to an election?
Mm-hmm.
It's a valid question.
Yeah, yeah. And then that's when they wanted to downplay early voting.
Yeah. That's when
And
their
all that.
defense came in.
Yeah,
They're high powered lawyers from California.
yeah. I tell you the truth, Will. I sat there and I sat there and listened. I thought some of the things they said. I thought to myself, that guy's a buffoon.
I don't know.
If anybody wants to hear it, it is on YouTube.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the audio file?
Yeah. I listened to it. I mean, I don't know. They probably didn't get what they paid for.
Not at all.
I don't know that I would give them high marks for I mean, you're going to have to be creative to defend this thing anyway, but
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted. I wouldn't. I would not. Even if I was a liberal Democrat, I would not have wanted the job to try to defend that.
well, that's why they hired somebody else.
Yeah.
They couldn't even defend it.
Right. Yeah. Probably hired Newsom's personal attorney to come argue it.
That part boggles. I don't understand why they could hire someone else from why it's his job. Jay Jones, he's the attorney general. He's the attorney for
Yeah.
Virginia.
Well, I was expecting to see him in chambers that day. I was kind of surprised because I read his brief, and I told my wife when I read that brief, I said my constitutional law class 101 could refute this guy's brief. They really could. That's how silly it was. That's how empty of actual law it was. My constitutional class 101 really could have refuted that. But I was expecting to see him there, and he wasn't anywhere in the room, anywhere in the courthouse.
Really?
Yeah.
The
Attorney General. Now, he also wasn't named on the case.
okay.
Don Scott was named on the case. So I don't know what his reason for writing any brief was. But like I said, when they called the case, his name, it was, I think, Don Scott, Louise Lucas, Scott Surville,
Yeah.
were on the case against Ryan McDougal, and Virginia, what do they call it? Virginia Department for Fair Maps or something like that. That may not be exactly right, but Jay Jones wasn't mentioned on the case.
That's interesting because he was out there telling us all how awful things were and that we needed to vote for this. But then when it comes time to stand, where is he?
Well, keep in mind this as well. Keep in mind what came out about him during the campaign. And I'm going to mention something that our viewers probably hadn't heard in a while. Everybody's heard about the comments to Delegate Coiner about the bullet in Todd Gilbert's head and watching his kids die and all that. Everybody's heard about his community service for going over 100 miles an hour on 95 was to his own personal political pact. But also keep this in mind. Jay Jones, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, has never argued a case before court when he was a prosecutor. So he would have been out of his league in front of the justices of the Virginia Supreme Court.
That's why they hired somebody else.
Yeah.
So we have someone.
He would have been out of his league from my kindergarten class at this Christian school that my wife runs.
That's like being a pastor, but never preached a sermon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm a pastor.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you preach on? Oh, I don't do that part though.
No, I'll let somebody else do that for me. I ain't got time to do all that.
What? How could you be a prosecutor and never try a case?
Never tried a case.
That's like being I don't know. Even third string quarterbacks in the NFL get in the game once in a while. I was about to make a joke, but that's not even a good one.
Even they play during preseason. I mean, come on. Come on, Attorney General Jones. Step up to the plate, man. Do your job.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
How could you screw through like that? That's
If he had an R behind his name, he wouldn't have.
no. But that's the bad kind of credit. Like you've made it pretty far in life, but how did you get there? No one knows.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess prosecutors, I don't know. I've got kind of a different view on them now after seeing everything go on with Desano and Jay Jones and all of these things. I couldn't imagine going to law school, spending all that time and money and work, and then you become a prosecutor and you don't do it.
Right.
What was the point of all that?
Right. Yeah.
Like from a personal standpoint, I don't know the man. I just mean like for me, I couldn't put in all that time and effort and money and then be like, well, I'm just not going to go to court. I don't know. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, the people look at me and say the same thing. He said, "Michael, you're in law school and you're not going to be a lawyer." No, I have no desire to be a lawyer, no desire to be a member of the bar. I'm just trying to craft my trade. When I stand before the delegates and senators and judges, I want to know. I want to at least act like I know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, you're using it though.
Yeah. If somebody comes up to me and says, if I have a lawyer or a judge come up to me and say, I don't know, some simple word, quid pro quo. I mean, I want to know what they're talking about,
Yeah.
or this has no probative value. I want to know what they're talking about, or they don't. We're not going to ask them to violate their Fourth Amendment, or this violated the Fourth Amendment. You got to know real quick. Okay, unlawful search and seizure. They were violated their Fourth Amendment of unlawful search and seizure was violated. You gotta kind of know that stuff. I don't, and so I mean that's the only reason I'm doing it is to become better at what I do. It's why you and I went to seminary as pastors, so we could be better in what we do in that regard. And so that's I don't I'm perfectly content with arguing with lawyers and judges and senators and in the General Assembly. I don't need to be a member of the bar.
I will argue with anyone. uh I well, I think I don't know, this is gonna be way off topic, but it's just the status of the culture that we live in now. You
Mhm.
and I look at something and go, okay, this is gonna make us better at what we do. Um, and other people nowadays look at something and go, well, this is what I need to make it to wherever, but I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
It's a status thing. Um, like my kid's 11, he plays baseball. He goes to a baseball coach. Whether he makes the majors or not, I don't know, but probably, I mean, who knows? But he goes to extra training sessions to get better.
Sure.
It's the same thing in life. And now you have people who are prosecutors who don't do anything. I don't know what they do. I guess they just sit in a fancy office all day and decline to prosecute
I
things.
guess.
I don't I don't understand the mentality that we have in this country now of like, I'm not gonna work and I'm not gonna do these things. I get the whole like we're moving to socialism. I get the philosophy. I totally I get that part, but I just don't understand as a person how you could not work hard.
Right. Right.
Or if you believe in something, like apparently they did believe in this redistricting thing. Now whether they did or not, I don't know. What they said behind closed doors, who knows? But then to not get up and stand for it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
the church does that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The church will
Yeah.
say stuff and then who's standing? Who backs it up?
Well, I have said many times in messages I've preached across the Commonwealth, it's easy to stand when everybody else is,
Yeah.
but when everybody else is bowing before Nebuchadnezzar's statue, it takes courage to be one of three standing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts. And so when those 3 stand, what one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about in Daniel in that part of the scriptures, those 3 weren't the only Jews in the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. There were a bunch. I mean, this was during the captivity.
Yeah, during the exile.
So there were a lot of Jews in that crowd. That's a good point. You're exactly right.
They were not the only ones.
Yeah.
There were plenty there in
Yeah.
that crowd, and
Yeah.
it was 3 who stood.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing going on now. Well, it's too, you know, people tell me, "Wow, we don't mix politics." And why? Do you not believe Christ is Lord over everything?
Right. Who was the creator of politics? God was the ordainer of government.
Yeah.
If you look in the book of Exodus, when he divided up the camps, and he told Aaron and Moses to divide representatives from each tribe, was that not the first house of representatives before the judge? I think that you can make an application to that. So the very fabric of our laws, our politics, our government is all based in the scriptures. We've talked about this before. Tax exempt status, Ezra chapter 7, division of powers, Jeremiah chapter 7 or 17. 3 branches of government, Isaiah 33. I mean, our government was based on the scriptures. House of Representatives, tribes of Israel. I mean, it's all in scripture. So don't come to me and say I don't do politics. I just do Jesus, because Jesus did politics.
Yeah. The 10 Commandments are literally the basis for the majority of Western government.
Yeah.
Religious liberty was part of this country's foundation.
Yeah.
The way that we treat people, the way that the Constitution treats people, is directly derived from God via the Bible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. People will just go down that road of, because to be honest, it's easier.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. It's easier to, for some reason, people have a mentality that it's easier to complain and blame somebody else when you're not involved. Well, if you're not involved, you're the last person to complain or blame somebody else. In fact, I would say that if you're not involved, you're part of the problem.
I agree 100%. So many people will complain. Do something.
Yeah, do something.
You can go to Richmond.
That's right.
You can email delegates. Now, whether they read it or not, I have no idea. That's not up to you.
That's right.
But you can do it.
Yeah.
Anybody can sign up to testify.
Yep.
And anybody can make a phone call, send an email. You can make a post on social media. There's all kinds of things people can do, but nobody will do anything because they think somebody else is going to do it.
Right. Doing something is not necessarily running for office.
No.
Now, I would love to see more of God's people run for office.
Me too.
But there's a whole lot more, like you said, there's a whole lot more you can do that does not include being in the limelight.
Okay, we're going to take a quick moment, and we have, let's end with the Spurgeon. I like the Spurgeon. We'll end with that. We'll take 2 breaks. And but first we have, so we're going to transition kind of after this to talking about the rhetoric and everything going on with the assassination attempt. And apparently there was a World War 11.
And I heard the voice of the Lord.
That's the wrong one. Let me go back. That I was unaware of. One second. I clicked the wrong one. Yeah, well. And we'll be right back.
And I heard the voice of the Lord, saying, "Whom shall I send? Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me."
Rise up, Christ one, only bow to his throne, Satan. Trying to temper, he ain't loud in my home, all fact.
People are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people. The dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used
to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI. These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people. The dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again? The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI. These people are just idiots. I really.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Omar.
That was something else. How do I get back to the? Oops, I'm just hitting all kinds of buttons. Yeah, I don't know what on earth we're supposed to do with that. There we go. Disable the loop. So apparently we are in World War XI.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we missed three through 10.
Yeah. I mean, that was a long winter's nap, Will.
Yeah, it was. I like history too.
Yeah.
I can't.
I would have loved to have studied the other wars.
Yeah. So
Had I just known.
yeah, had we known they happened.
Now, there's a difference between maybe she's talking about the arguments between her brother husband. Maybe that's the war she's talking about.
Maybe. I do agree with her on the dumbing down of America, not the Trump part.
Right.
I do agree with her.
Yeah. And you just heard it.
Yeah, exactly. That she made her own point.
That's right. That's right.
So we have. I've been thinking about this. So I always talk about stuff in the pulpit, but I didn't really talk about much about the assassination attempt on Sunday, because there just wasn't that much information.
Right.
So we just prayed for the country and everybody's safety and things like that. But there wasn't much. Now there's more out there after it's been a few days. This is what happens. And, I think it was 3 years ago when all the Palestine things happened on the college campuses.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 3 years ago. And I got up from the pulpit and said, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is not about free speech. This is about supporting terrorism. And the rhetoric that was used is dangerous.
Yeah.
When people that are in charge, and full disclosure, I don't really like how Trump speaks. I don't think it's very presidential.
You're right.
I don't like it when they use curse words.
Right.
That may sound stupid, but I like presidents who speak presidential.
Yeah.
That's just my own personal opinion. However, the constant use of Nazi, the constant use of racist, the constant use of just every policy. This is the problem: is they can't argue policy.
Right.
They can't, because nobody wants their policies.
No. Nobody wants a socialist government.
No. And
except those in government who want to give things away so they can get votes. They want a socialist government. They don't. They don't personally want a socialist government. They just want to keep power.
Yeah.
And the more programs you create, the more you take from those who have and give to those who don't want to work to have or whatever. And they get your votes. You keep your power. They want that type of socialism. Yeah.
Yeah, they want that. They want that socialism, but that's a small percentage. Well, no, it's not a small percentage. It's growing.
Well, just the other day in a press conference, with Speaker Scott and Louise Lucas. Of course, Louise Lucas is the president pro tempore in the Senate, which basically means, for our viewers, basically means that if the lieutenant governor is acting as the governor, then then Louise Lucas, it's a scary thought, would be the president of the Senate.
That's fun.
That's a scary thought, especially if you ever had the fortunate opportunity to meet her. But they were in a press conference the other day about this gerrymandering, and Delegate Scott said that when you go low, we go lower and beat the blankety blank out of you. And he and Louise Lucas were dropping the F bomb during the press. Now, Will, we're not talking about you didn't know that your mic was hot, or you're walking down the sidewalk and somebody records you on their cell phone using that type of language. You are the Speaker of the House of Delegates in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You're the most powerful man in that chamber in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And you are in a press conference with cameras in your face, dropping the F bomb and all type of curse words about those who disagree with you. It's just like you were saying. It's no place for that.
No.
In any type of leadership, whether it be certainly not church leadership, obviously.
Well,
but it's not even a place for that in business leadership, and it's not a place for that in government leadership.
no, and that's all. So I'm 43. I've seen now 3 assassination attempts, and they were all within the last year. I went 40 years of life.
Yeah.
Without one.
Yeah. Wow.
I remember when Obama was elected, and everybody was worried that something was going to happen.
I remember. Yeah.
Nothing ever happened.
No. And that's great.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm just telling everybody else. You and I both agree. That's great.
Yeah. You may not agree with President Obama. He's the only president that ever actually directly affected my life. He cut a job I was going to get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, it was him.
Oh, wow. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I would have been living in Alaska. It would have been sweet. Anyway.
Maybe he did you a favor.
He might have.
No.
That's a story for a different day. But
military job?
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
You
went to VMI, right?
Yeah, I went to VMI. That's right. Three in a year. Charlie Kirk got shot. I spoke at the memorial they had in Fredericksburg for him. Every time this happens, all you hear immediately is, well, we have to turn the temperature down.
Yeah.
And this is what particularly Christians need to understand. The temperature is not coming down.
No.
It should have taken one to turn the temperature down.
Yeah.
It's not going to turn down. It's just not.
No.
Maybe for a week. I guarantee you 2 weeks from now, they're going to be no kings. And although funny moment, they both were everyone standing ovation in Congress for King Charles.
Yeah. Amazing. The no kings people standing for a real king. Did you hear what Trump said? He said King Charles did something that I could never do. Man, he got the Democrats to stand.
My son asked me last night. This is funny to lighten it up a little bit. My son asked me why King Charles was here. I said, I don't know, man. He's probably just visiting Trump and coming to Congress. And he said, doesn't he know we already defeated them? He could go back. I was like, oh God. That's a patriot.
My youngest son, he's now 20, 23, 24. When he was a young teenager was when Kate and William, thank you. Name just escaped me. We're getting married. And my in-laws wanted to watch the wedding, and so we were all over at their house, and the wedding was playing. And now, okay, chalk it up to youth, but he came out with this statement. He said, why are we watching an English wedding? He said, and I don't know what somebody said, but then he spoke up and said, I stopped caring about England in 1776.
I mean, we could probably do a whole episode on King Charles's speech because he talked about the importance of Christianity and the gospel,
Yeah.
but they're basically an Islamic country now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I mean. The rhetoric is not going to dial down. And what Christians need to understand, and the churches that are all quiet, they're quiet because they're comfortable. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
it's not going to be quiet forever or
No.
comfortable forever.
No.
You listen to what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they mean.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll give you a little bit of tidbit. Those two videos that I just had produced,
Yeah.
one on abortion and one on marriage. I don't know if you were able to see it or not, Will, because I've got people, I've got spotters for me telling me so that I can take the stuff down. But people have really come out and have gotten vulgar with me about those videos. I mean, people that it's on VAIB's Facebook, but people I don't even know in states that aren't Virginia. Because I look them up and find out where they live, and none of them so far have lived in Virginia. I mean, dropping the F-bomb at me, calling me a crackhead, a homophobic. One of them said, I'm going to put up a picture of what's Jeff Dunham's Islamic puppet name called?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway,
but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Put up a picture of him. I'm going to kill you. And it's people have, you talking about the rhetoric not dying down. I mean, little old me. All I did was have two videos produced on a website, and I've got people coming up for me from all over the country on an issue that's not even going to affect people in Florida. This constitutional amendment in Virginia on marriage isn't going to affect people in Florida, but they're coming after me, calling me all kinds of names, and I can't keep up with all that. I'm like you. I'm too busy to sit there on social media and read all the comments. So if I don't read them, I can't delete the vulgar ones. So I've got spotters who are unfortunately not able to take them down, but can at least send me screenshots. I had a young lady in my church send me a screenshot the other day and said, I thought you might want to see this. And they were dropping the F-bomb on one of my posts. And I was like, thanks. And I went in there and deleted it. But people are, the rhetoric is not dying down.
No. I've been called all kinds of names.
No, not you.
I don't know. It does. I mean, it can get to you. I look at it as, okay, people are upset. I probably said something that needed to be said.
Yeah.
Because the reason I say that is because it's the rhetoric that they use. Nobody wants to engage in a conversation because they can't.
Right.
They simply can't. So they resort to violence, and that's what I mean by the temperature is not going to come down because the things that they are, building their life upon. It's just like the Bible says. You get tossed to and fro by the winds of culture.
Yeah,
I don't.
Right.
I'm fine. I go to the gym. I'm good. But that's why there's so much outrage. I find it exhausting. I don't know how they keep up with what to be outraged about.
Yeah. I remember when Trump got inaugurated the first time and they had the camera while he was being sworn in, they had the camera of a mourner. And you could see when they had the camera on this person, they kept looking up at the camera to see if the camera was still on. And after he said, "So help me God," they just screamed out. Okay, was that real or was that staged? Well, you kept looking up at the camera to make sure that the camera was looking at you to put on the show.
Yeah.
Because they can't keep up. It's like a liar. Liars always get caught because they can't keep up with their lies. And people that are always mad about something or who are always trying to create something to be mad at, what a miserable way to live. I don't mean this way it's going to sound, Will, and it's not just, and I'm not going to say Democrats. What a miserable existence it must be to be a progressive.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know some Democrats that aren't progressive.
No, they probably won't be Democrats. I know people that used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
They can't do it anymore.
Right. I don't believe that honestly, knowing them the way that I do, I don't believe that every Democrat in Richmond is a progressive. Every Democrat in Richmond is scared to death of Don Scott and Louise Lucas, and so therefore they vote progressive.
Oh yeah.
But their personal beliefs, I don't think every one of them. Now, a lot of them are. Of the 64 that are there, probably over 50 of them are. But not all of them are progressive in their personal thinking. They just have no courage to stand up against the Democrat leadership.
No, the extreme parts of the Democratic Party have taken over.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, but that's why you see the rhetoric. Go back to the presidential election. They wouldn't even let RFK primary, RFK Jr.
Right.
Now, you don't have to like RFK Jr. What I personally I do, but whatever. It wouldn't even been primary.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the funny part is they will scream about kings and all this stuff. You didn't let someone primary.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to win.
No, not at all.
Like, I'm just being honest.
Not at all.
He wasn't going to win the nomination, but they wouldn't even let him primary.
Right. Right. Well, AC Cordoza, when he was a good friend of mine, he was in the House of Delegates from Yorktown, and he got beat by Virgil Thornton last year. Black man.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't let him in the Black Caucus in Richmond because he was a Republican.
Yeah, that's where it gets really weird.
Yeah.
That's where it gets strange.
You're not really a brother because you're a Republican.
No, people will scream about two white guys like us telling you stuff, but
yeah. But look what you do to your own guy.
Yeah, somebody else says it and they're a traitor though.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like we literally I'm thankful that we live in this country. I would make this stand whether we lived here or not. But we live in the greatest country in the world.
Yes.
In the history of the world.
Yes, we do.
Why is everyone so mad? Honestly, go outside and touch some grass, please.
Mm-hmm.
You want to dial down the temperature? Get off social media for a bit.
Yes.
Good gracious.
Except VAIB's website, except VAIB's Facebook page. Stay on there.
Yeah, stay on there.
Stay on Kingdom Politics.
Oh yeah, watch our YouTube show.
Just those two.
That's it. Everything else.
Yeah.
Stay off of
unfriend everybody else except us.
It's so weird. We can't. It's just but to Christians, the church has to start. Christ is very clear. If God is not filling the space, if Christ is not filling the space, the devil goes and gets 6, 7 multiples to fill that space.
Yeah.
Look what's happening.
Yeah. It's
not rocket science.
No, not at all.
And to think that the rhetoric is going to get turned down when a man, again, you shouldn't, it's about how you conduct yourselves.
Right. Exactly right.
And you don't have to like President Trump. That's your right in America.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness you get to say something. Thank goodness you get to have your No Kings protests.
Yeah.
There's countries where they'll just send out a squad with machine guns and no one will hear about No Kings ever again.
That's it. That's right. That's right.
As far as I know, that hasn't happened yet in America. Yeah. But we're taking shots at people. And this is the other part too, because everybody loves the gun control stuff. The party trying to take away your guns is the ones using them.
Yeah.
For violent methods.
You know, I was told by a person that would know, but of course, when you go into the General Assembly building, you're not allowed to carry a firearm. You used to be able to. In fact, up to just a few years ago, you could carry a firearm in the Pocahontas building, which was the original General Assembly building that was down right off of Main. It's a couple blocks down from where we are now. But I was told the other day by somebody that would know that Don Scott's packing in there every day. But you're not supposed to, but see, they don't have to go through scanners. So he gets by with it.
Yeah.
You and I do, even though even though I'm registered to be there and I can go anywhere I want to go, I have to go through
Right.
the scanners every day, and so I don't even try. But he's packing. I've been told by a member of the House, not by another lobbyist buddy, but by a member of the House, that he's packing in the General Assembly building every day. Now, I'm not saying he's carrying in chambers
Right.
on the House floor, but he walks into the building every day carrying a weapon because they think that I told somebody the other day on the radio that I really do believe that the Democrats, Don Scott, I really do believe that he thinks that he's above the courts.
Oh, I think they they proved it with the redistricting
Yeah.
thing. They very clearly, whether you wanted to redistrict or not, very clearly broke the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Whether
Yeah.
you voted yes or no, it doesn't even that's not even the discussion.
Right.
The discussion is, was it constitutional or not
Right.
for the state of Virginia, not for the United States, for
Right.
anybody that's listening outside of Virginia.
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, the justices in the Supreme Court Monday had a real issue with the fact that voting had already started before they brought this resolution.
Yeah.
Because the people did not know about it. I wrote an article on our Capitol Alerts the other day, and one of the things that I brought out was that the founding fathers, James Wilson, who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, architect of the Constitution, was one of the chief justices. One of the justices of the United States Supreme Court. Thomas Jefferson, John Marshall, who was the chief justice of the United States Supreme Court. They all said that if all you have is the letter of the law without the spirit of the law, you have oppression. That the spirit of the law, what is intended by what is said,
Right.
is just as important as what is said, and where that works in, and the justices Monday kind of brought this out. Where that works out is, okay, what is the spirit of the reasoning behind the language of the intervening election?
Yeah.
Well, it's very clear that the spirit of that was so that if the people didn't like what their representatives were doing in the first session, they could vote them out in the intervening election, and then a fresh set of representatives would come in next, and we'll see what they're going to do for the next 2 years. But see, the people were not given that opportunity. So while they adhere to the letter of the law, because it was an election day, they did not adhere to the spirit of the law, because that wasn't the intention of the intervening election by the founding fathers. And according to the founding fathers, if you have the letter and not the spirit, you have oppression. You got to have both to have proper constitutional government.
Yeah. It's the fruit of the tree.
Yeah.
That's all it is. If they were fair people and they really cared about fairness and it wasn't about anything else, then they would have followed the law.
Yes.
People have got to start waking up. Like, and we'll probably close here in a second, but again, the temperature not coming down. Do you know what Fairfax County Public Schools' big bragging point was this past school year?
What?
That every high school now had a weapons detector. That was their bragging point. Now, I'm not saying that high schools shouldn't have weapon detectors, but we shouldn't brag about it. That's not good.
No.
What are we doing?
That's like saying every bathroom has got contraceptive dispensers.
Yeah,
Why is that a proud point?
no. But that was their big bragging point,
Yeah.
was we put weapons detectors in every school, and they all wanted applause. For what? Because our society has deteriorated
Yeah.
to the point where you might get killed at a high
Yeah.
school.
Exactly.
It's,
Wow.
it's not a, it drives me crazy when we hear, and then it's always the excuse of, wow, this one guy took what people said the wrong way. No. We know about the shooter from the other night. He lived online.
Right.
He didn't achieve what he wanted to achieve. He went to a fancy school. He was a smart guy, apparently. Well, sorry, he's still alive. At some point he was smart,
Yeah. Sometime along the line. Where did you go to college? I don't remember.
like Cal State or
Cal-
something,
Okay. Yeah.
like a really prestigious program.
Yeah. Just a year or so ago, he was a student, right? Or less than a year.
No. He graduated in like a few years ago, but then he was
Okay.
some sort of wasn't a teacher. He was some sort of tutor.
Okay.
The education system's weird now because there's all these third party
Yeah.
things because the school systems are so broken. Because we took my son to one of those one time. We didn't end up doing it, but yeah, there's like these tutor services you can do now, like more official though. Like not when we were younger, where it was like, oh, the high school kid down the street is gonna like tutor you in math. Not like
Gotcha.
that, like a professional,
Yeah. Professional tutor.
yeah, more professional thing to supplement where the schools were at.
Gotcha.
So he was doing something along those lines. Um, it's all this stuff online. It's again, people you when persecution breaks out, the church is going to wonder what happened.
Yeah.
And there'll be some of us going, "We told you the whole
Yeah.
time."
And then those false converts will fall away.
Oh,
That's what
for sure.
that's what persecution does.
Yeah, I think you saw that after COVID.
Hmm.
People not coming back to church.
Yeah.
A lot of people come back to church now.
Yep.
But what is that? Oh, we're in an hour already.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does. What do we got going on? We have next week, Christ and Culture Night. Kristen Hawkins is going to be joining me. We got an awesome evening planned. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, don't forget about your CDF lunch tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. If you're watching on the live stream, by the time I post this, it'll probably already be over. But Citizens Defending Freedom, they're hosting a lunch. Actually, both of us are speaking at that. He
Yeah.
asked me the other day in text. I don't know if he watches us or not, but I said I thought I was supposed to have the day off.
Never.
So that's tomorrow. If people want to come out to that, if you're watching on the live stream, it's on
Yeah.
it's on my social media stuff. And then Christ and Culture next week, and then Apologetics the following Saturday, the 9th at 10 a.m. And all that information's on all the social media platforms. What you got, sir?
Just keep in mind if you would like to get on our Capital Alerts so that you can get legislative updates or different articles. They're not just legislative updates, because I also write them out of session. They're articles about how the Bible pertains to the law.
Yeah.
And as believers, we need to understand the law. So there are articles on that. I just wrote an article, in fact, went out, I can't think it came out last week, on, because what you're hearing a lot in Richmond about the abortion amendment is they think we're hollering wolf when we're talking about it's going to get rid of parental notification, because of 1.240-1 of the Code of Virginia basically says that parents have the final say in everything that has to do with their children. But I wrote an article and I laid out 2 court cases from the state of Montana and the state of Missouri that had similar, if not almost identical, parental rights in their law, and had a abortion amendment that was almost identical to ours, and how the courts, when court cases were filed, how the courts sided for the state taking away parental rights as unconstitutional because of the exact same language in their abortion resolution that the Commonwealth of Virginia has. And so the precedent, the legal precedent for parental notification being stripped away because of the language of our resolution that's being considered, is high, because there's Montana and Missouri that both sided against the parents' right to know everything about the reproductive freedom of their young girls and sons. So we write articles like that. If you'd like to get on that, very informative stuff, send your email address to me, director@vaib.org, and we will I'll get my staff to add you to that. Follow Kingdom Politics on Facebook. Follow VAIB on Facebook, VAIB Sutherland. Virginia. That's SUTHERLAND, Virginia. And then you'll be kept up to date of all that's going on. We got videos on there and all those things. And of course, if you'd like to pre-order my new book, Reclaiming Our Constitutional Republic, be up this summer sometime, just send me your email address. Just send me your order request at the director@vaib.org.
Yeah, we'll have to do another pro-life
Yeah.
episode soon. I got some stuff to talk about on that one. But we just appreciate everybody's support. We have a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, thank you for the support. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, but it's on every podcast platform. So you just search Kingdom Politics. It's on Apple, it's on Amazon, it's on Spotify. I can't believe we have listeners on Apple, believe it or not.
Do we?
Which boggles my mind because I thought Apple was pretty, I don't know. I thought it was pretty left, so I thought we'd be kind of buried, but no, people listen to it on there, and we'll be back next week, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and don't forget to subscribe, and thank you, everybody.
Yeah. You got a Spurgeon thing you want to play?
Oh, yeah. Let's play Spurgeon out. I found this quote earlier today.
And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here am I. Send me.
Rise up, Christ one, only bow to his throne, Satan. Try and temper, he ain't loud in my home, all fact, keep it real. Spirit send me not alone, I ain't flexing for the world, cause it ain't my real